Hello and welcome to part 2 of this comparison guide. If you have not seen part 1 yet, then I suggest that you watch that first before moving on to part 2. Let's now continue with the guide. Let's now look at heating and power. Each of these brewing systems in this comparison has the feature of a removable power lead, which not only makes storage easier, but in the event that a power cable is damaged, it is much easier to replace. Here is a chart that shows and allows comparison of heating element power, which is based on a 240 volt power supply. Each of these systems is equipped with what is classed as ultra-low watt density heating elements, which are certainly not available on a more budget-orientated brewing system. The key benefits here being that they will last a lot longer and eliminate the hotspots of older style elements that lead to burning on the bottom and a darkening of your wort. Due to this, you will find that cleaning of the bottom plate is much easier, and you will also find it less likely to suffer a boil over. However, it should be mentioned that the bottom plate side is only relevant to the BrewZilla and Grainfather systems, as their elements are concealed under the bottom of the brewing system. The Brewtools systems, however, are a bit different because they have exposed elements. One benefit of an exposed element is that it can be more easily replaced, and as such can be performed by the user. However, the elements supplied on the BrewZilla and Grainfather systems are possible to replace, but it is a technical job, and it is more than possible that in some countries that element replacement will not be available. So if you have a warranty case, then basically a new system will be supplied instead. It is expected to see that the smallest and largest systems here also have the smallest and largest heating elements. Heating element size, however, does not give us the full picture, especially when it comes to concealed elements, because it's all really about how efficiently and effectively they have been attached to the bottom plate. So rather than looking at just the numbers here, it is important to run a test so that we can see how effective these systems are when it comes to heating speed. For this test I added 15 litres of water to each system and heated it from 25 to 65 degrees Celsius. This is the equivalent of adding 3.96 US gallons of water and heating it from 77 to 149 degrees Fahrenheit. These tests were run using each system's PID algorithm just as you would when heating to a mash temperature. I should point out that I'm using 230 volts for this test, so the results here will be a little slower than if you use 240 volts of power. I started this test with the Brewtools shown here along with its exposed element that is rated at 3.2 kilowatts, and in my timed test the Brewtools 40 Pro finished in 8 minutes 29 seconds and felt very fast, I must say. I then followed with the Grainfather G40, which has the exact same 3.3 kilowatt concealed heating element as the Grainfather G70, so it is fair to say that the result from the G40 will be very similar, if not exactly the same for this test with the G70. I noticed that the Grainfather system took longer to start heating at speed compared to the exposed elements of the Brewtools, which is to be expected due to the differences in elements. The Grainfather system also slowed its brakes on heating faster via its PID algorithm than the Brewtools did too, which also added to its time, which finished in 17 minutes and 20 seconds. Then it was the turn of the BrewZilla Gen 4 65 litre system with its 3.5 kilowatt concealed heating element. This system has been used a lot by me recently and it always feels very fast, so I was intrigued to see how close it could come to the Brewtools. The end time came back as 11 minutes and 31 seconds. Certainly the 65 BrewZilla was slower at reaching heating pace compared to the Brewtools, but once it found its rhythm it shot past the Grainfather system time, being almost 6 minutes faster in this test. Then lastly I tested the BrewZilla Gen 4 35 litre system with its 2.2 kilowatt concealed heating element, which has the smallest heating element in this test, but it is no slouch for what it is for sure. By the end of the test I had a very respectable 17 minutes and 53 seconds from this unit, which is not far off the Grainfather time despite the smaller heating element power. Here are these results in a chart that show these in speed order. Firstly, it is important to realise that heating speed is also linked to firmware, and it would seem that the BrewZilla and Brewtools units are not throttling as much as the Grainfather units. There could be various reasons for this, and I guess that we have all experienced some different results when new updates come for not just our own brewing systems, but also for mobile phones and so on. Then with concealed elements, there is how the element is bonded onto the bottom plate of the brewing system, and I am told by Kegland that much time was spent with the BrewZilla Gen 4 units to maximise performance in this regard. As I explained earlier, I do not have a Brewtools 80 Pro to conduct this test with, but if anyone watching this would like to perform the same test and add the result in the comments section of this video, video, that will be much appreciated. Be sure to include the voltage of your power supply too. Let's now take a look at the different controllers offered by these systems. The Brewtools controllers have a very impressive 7-inch touchscreen display that has a nice resolution and feels very snappy. It supports Wi-Fi, so as such it can be updated, and the controller firmware has had some nice features added since its release. Whilst I'm running through the menus here, you will get a feel for all the different features on offer via this controller, which includes recipe and manual modes, wort transfer, temperature when cooling, and the ability to set the relays to a different level of amperage to suit your power supply. The Brewtools systems are the only systems that I am aware of in the homebrew market that offer a controller this large and impressive, and it certainly gives that extra premium feel for sure. When it comes to Grainfather, the Grainfather G40 and G70 both share the same controller, which is supported by 5 buttons for control. This controller supports both Bluetooth and Wi-Fi, so as such can have its firmware updated. Again, I am running through the menus here so that you can see the features on offer, but what you cannot see is Grainfather's ecosystem for recipes that allows you to transfer recipes from a smart device straight onto the controller for brewing, with the controller then loaded with all of the vital information for that brew, including timers and water volumes. As you can see, there is a good level of customization and calibration options that can be changed directly from the controller itself. The Gen 4 BrewZilla units are supplied with Kirkland's new wrapped controller, which connects to an online ecosystem, and the controller itself supports both Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. This controller has a total of 6 buttons for control. Like the Brewtools, you can control pump and heating by percentage. In the case of the BrewZilla, this is done in 5% stages. There are many features on offer here already, and Kirkland tell me that they will be gradually rolling out new ones according to what else their customer base asks for. All of the features you would expect are already in place, along with some that you may not expect. 2-point temperature calibration is already offered, as well as the ability to edit the PID algorithm, which is not a feature I've seen offered by any other homebrew system in the market. Another nice touch is that there's also a diagnostic section for troubleshooting any issues. Another feature found on the BrewZilla that is not found on other systems here is the ability to change the tilt on the controller screen, which I'm sure will be appreciated by many. Let's now look at cooling solutions that each manufacturer supplies for their systems. Shown here are the immersion chillers that are supplied with the BrewZilla Gen 4 35 and 65 litre units as part of its package price. These are made from 304 grade stainless steel and provide a very good entry-level cooling solution that many will find acceptable, especially considering the price. Kirkland can also provide further aftermarket cooling solutions should you wish to upgrade for additional cost. Supplied with the Grainfather units as part of the package are counterflow chillers that use copper for cooling, which offers greater performance compared to stainless steel in terms of heat transfer. Whilst these are not comparable in terms of quality to some aftermarket cooling solutions out there, they do a very good job, and it is nice to see these offered as part of the package. I am still using a Grainfather G30 counterflow chiller that I have converted to cam locks for use with various brewing systems, and despite it being over 7 years old, it is still going strong. The Brewtools systems are not supplied with a cooling solution by standard with the brewing system, but the Brewtools systems do have their own counterflow chiller that is available as part of an upgrade package or separately on its own. These are made from 304 grade stainless steel and can be paired with an inline temperature sensor that is available from Brewtools so that you can see the return temperature during cooling on the Brewtools controller. This is a feature that is not found on the Grainfather G40 or G70 nor the BrewZilla Gen 4 systems. Or at least this is true at the time of making this video. This could change in the future, of course. Let's now look at the brewing experience offered by these different systems. The Brewtools experience is very much unique at this point when it comes to homebrew equipment. Its operation is based around 4 ports that have 3-way valves that can be manipulated further by the use of a separate handle system that directs flow and emphasis in different places of the brewing system. This leads to the ability of customization so that you can set things up the way you want them. You also have a large touchscreen and thicker stainless steel compared to other all-in-one brewing systems that really adds to that premium feel that really defines Brewtools as the market leader in terms of quality. All components supplied with the Brewtools or as upgrade extras are at the top of the market too. It should also be mentioned that all components that make up the Brewtools systems can be replaced, including the heating elements, so as such upgrades can and are available as new designs and technology is found by the Brewtools company. It has to be said though that using a Brewtools has a far steeper learning curve for many compared to other brewing systems on the market. Some will take to it very easily, whereas others will have a struggle. No level of homebrew experience will prepare you for this, but commercial brewing certainly will, as well as other job roles where valves and subsystems exist. It is not to say that this will be beyond some people, it will just take time is all. It also needs to be mentioned that if you're not in a position where you can leave your Brewtools fully set up and ready to go, then the setup time of this brewing system is certainly much more lengthy and involved than any other brewing system, like for example the Grainfather and BrewZilla systems. However, in terms of the experience, many, including myself, really enjoy the premium feel and quality of the Brewtools as well as the way that you brew with it. There is quite simply nothing else on the world market that compares to it, but this does come at a premium cost, which I will cover in more detail shortly. Let's now move on to the Grainfather G40 and G70. Grainfather is a long-standing brand within the homebrew market, and the Grainfather experience offered by the G40 is quite simply the best Grainfather experience yet. My testing with the G70 when I had access to one was not the best, but I understand that much, if not all, of these early issues have now been ironed out. The Grainfather G40, however, does offer some upgrade changes when compared to the G70. See my Grainfather G40 videos for more details. Grainfather have built a large community of brewers based on a smart connected method of brewing that guides and assists the brewer in the process step by step. As such, the Grainfather systems are quite the opposite of a Brewtools system in the sense that there is really no learning curve because Grainfather have taken away all of that heavy lifting. These brewing systems are extremely easy to get to grips with because of this, and also very easy systems to use even if you take away that guided experience and brew manually. Provided with the Grainfather systems is an online platform and smart app that is part of this package. A key part of this online platform is the ability to create and use recipes shared by the community with every detail loaded into the controller via the Grainfather Smart app. This covers the whole brew, including details of how much water to add during the mash and sparge, as well as alarms for each addition during the boil. At present there are over 129,000 recipes shared by the community on the Grainfather platform. Setup of the Grainfather G40 and G70 is also very fast and easy with very few parts to add and swap over. This whole package makes for a very easy experience which can be either semi-automated or fully manual as you choose. The G40 and G70 are also having most parts that can be easily replaced and potentially upgraded, however to replace its heating element is certainly a skilled job that is not going to be within the reach of most users. It has to be said that Grainfather has entered into a higher quality market with the G40 and G70. The thickness of its stainless steel bodies have been enhanced and these are much more robust compared to the G30. The components supplied with both of these systems are also enhanced to the same level too. This has led to a higher price jump from the G30 than some were hoping for, but this jump has also been made in quality too. More on pricing shortly. Let's now move on to the BrewZillas. Kegland have quite some years experience now of providing brewing systems and have consistently improved each version and set themselves apart from the rest of the more budget-friendly end of the market based on their unique designs and a high level of quality for the price. The Gen 4 BrewZilla systems are Kegland's largest leap at improvement so far by a long way. Unlike other budget systems, the BrewZilla Gen 4 units are supplied with the latest technology and heating elements that are ultra-low watt density, meaning there will be no wort burning or caramelization. These new heating elements feature a much wider surface area and are Kegland's most powerful heating elements to date. There is also now an online platform offered as part of the BrewZilla Gen 4 package known as Wrapped that is very functional for communicating with the Wrapped controller supplied with these Gen 4 brewing systems and other products that are Wrapped compatible. There are huge upgrades planned for the Wrapped system to offer new features in the future too. Naturally, the inclusion of a Wi-Fi and Bluetooth smart controller that is mounted high is a real game changer for BrewZilla. Setup and the brewing experience with the BrewZilla systems is very easy, but this also comes with a finer level of control than is offered by many other brewing systems in the market too. You can brew in a semi-automatic way if you wish, or fully manually, and it is all very easy. Like with the Brewtools and Grainfather G40 and G70 systems, the bottom of the BrewZilla Gen 4 units are concave and have a centre drain, meaning that you can transfer your full wort, and this also makes for a much easier cleaning experience. In terms of parts, the situation is the same as with Grainfather in the sense that all can be replaced and potentially upgraded except for the heating element, but the technology involved with these heating elements also means that they will have a much longer life compared to regular heating elements. The quality of the stainless steel body and components used have been enhanced compared to Gen 3, and after many brews with Gen 3 I did not have any issues personally, nor have I had problems with my brews so far with Gen 4. I guess it would be fair to say that it would be a little easier to dent a BrewZilla compared to a Grainfather G40 or G70, but BrewZilla Gen 4 units are, in my opinion, at the same level of quality of a Grainfather G30, which I believe is good enough for most people. I am also especially impressed with Kegland's willingness to offer upgrade parts like the boil extenders and extended malt pipes that allow for extra brewing and malt volumes without much more cost, especially when you consider the alternative, which would be buying an even larger brewing system or having one more smaller system. Certainly Kegland has always had a focus on value, and this is also true of these Gen 4 systems too, so let's now move on to price and see how this all stacks up. At the time of making this video, pricing is only available in the Australian market, so I will just offer pricing from Australia for comparison. This pricing has been rounded up. So there is no $604.95 for example, simply $605. If you do not live in Australia, then please check within your own market for pricing and note that some systems may be different converted price-wise due to export costs. Do note that BrewZilla Gen 4 units will not be available in most world regions until late August or September 2022, but you may find pricing earlier than this in some regions. In regards to the Brewtools systems, the prices noted here are just for the base system, which includes just one 3-way valve and a basic setup. Upgrade packages will need to be purchased to enlarge on this and also to provide a wort chiller. As you can see, the Brewtools systems are by far the most costly here, and the BrewZilla are by far the most budget friendly, and this will be the same in all markets with Grainfather in the middle. All of these systems are worthy of recommendation and in my opinion represent the best of what is offered to the world homebrew market. Naturally there are some systems exclusively sold in markets like the US that are not included here for example, so do take this into consideration too. I hope that this comparison guide has provided you with all the information that you need to come to an informed decision if you are looking to purchase one of these. Do let me know in the comments section of this video if you still have any questions about any of these systems, and I will be happy to answer.
I do hope that you found this video useful, informative and interesting. If so, why not consider liking and subscribing? For further support you can join the channel's Facebook group, and if you would like to support the channel then check out the channel's merchandise store, as all profits go back into the channel. Until next time, happy brewing!